Hi, Christine.
Hey, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We're still in the new
Happy
year.
New Year. It's our first episode of the new year. We're almost getting halfway through our second hockey season here, of podcasts, right? It's kind of moving quickly.
This season is flying by. And
Yeah.
for those of you who are joining us, again, welcome back. We are Double Defense. We are your all-female New York Rangers hockey podcast. I am Liz, and this is Christine. We are New York Rangers fans based in Southern California. Go figure.
And we're cold. It's 60 degrees and we're cold.
Well, that's very LA. We are both originally New Yorkers. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are both originally New Yorkers who have transplanted to Southern California, but remain steadfast Rangers fans. And we come together every week to talk all things New York Rangers, NHL, and a lot more in between. So thanks for joining us today. We have a lot to cover on this episode, and a big week coming up as the Rangers start their West Coast road trip in only a couple of days. And Christine and I are going to be heading to Las Vegas to see them play the Golden Knights. So that'll be a super fun time. And yeah, and then there's several games that are happening in Southern California, including the Kings and the Anaheim Ducks as well. So there's a lot to do. I think even before we get started, we should be looking at the stats on bovadasportsbook.com to see where the Rangers are, who's expected to win the game against the Golden Knights. But obviously, us being there will help sway.
I know. I think Double Defense being there just pumps up any odds for anything. So Bovada, get ready. we're changing all your numbers. So yeah, it should be. We're looking forward to a really good series. It's funny. How long ago would you have said that Vegas would have been the better team?
I know. Yeah. And now, I think it'll be an interesting matchup. The Golden Knights, as of this podcast recording, which is on Monday, January 8th, the Golden Knights are in second place in the Pacific to the Vancouver Canucks, which is interesting because the Rangers are playing Vancouver tonight. So we have the battle of the Pacific Division first place team being Vancouver, and the Metropolitan Division first place team being the New York Rangers coming up. So these games will all be super important, especially as we get into the All-Star break.
Plus, it's Star Wars night when they play the Kings. So it's just gonna be a fun. We'll talk about that next week a little bit more as we get ready. Even the dog's excited.
The dog is very excited,
and Bashi's been a hit with our loss on Saturday. He comforted everybody.
I think I'm going to start doing that. The next time that the Rangers have a loss, the way that they did. I think I'm going to start posting cute pictures of the dog, because that is the only way. That's the only way we're going to survive. We should touch upon that game. The last game that the Rangers played was against the Montreal Canadiens. The Rangers did wind up losing that game in a shootout, 4-3. That was a game that I think you could argue both sides of the fence on it. It was great that they got a point out of that game, but why the Rangers struggled so much against a very mediocre Montreal Canadiens team is kind of beyond me.
Were they, though?
Were they struggling?
No, you're going to say they were mediocre, but watching the game, their defense was outstanding. We had over 40 shots that game, and the goalie was great. And look, I'm also noticing some of the shots could be a little bit better. But defensively, Montreal played a great game. I'm not going to deny the fact that they didn't play a great game. And, they had those three quick, goals pretty quick, but then we came back. They didn't, and then they didn't score anything else after that. So, and then of course, when it comes down to the shootout, which I have, was it PTSD when we get to shootouts, just from like being a hockey mom. I never have a good feeling about those. And I believe it's our first shootout loss. So, when we talk about, that's what I wanted to kind of ask, the game that you were watching, and you made people hungry with, posting a picture of the turnovers. If the people didn't get it, there was a lot of them, and they were from both sides. Both teams had a lot of turnovers.
We are a very cerebral podcast. We are a very cerebral Instagram. You have to go for the double entendre. So stick with us, please.
So funny.
I know a few of you got it. I know a few of you got it.
Some people were like, I'll take cherry. I'll take that too. But I get, it was really funny. And it kind of goes, it's a question I want to ask you because it kind of goes into odds, and I kind of want to watch this too on Bovada as well to see how it changes. But, I think when we lose, there's a talk about inconsistency. And I've seen that in some of, the odds in the last maybe month or so, where we're not as favored as other teams, and maybe because of inconsistencies. Are you seeing that in the team? And then I'm going to ask you a follow-up question.
Okay, so I think inconsistencies is an interesting term. Yeah. I think that the Rangers have a very strong strategy that works that will work 90% of the time. It works against 90% of the teams. Every now and then there's a team like Montreal, the way that they played, the way the Carolina Hurricanes played the other day, the way I've seen the Devils play, where you can tell that the coaches have Laviolette's number, where I think that they can see through the Rangers, not inconsistencies, but sort of their downfalls. Where do they have flaws in their play, and how can they exploit them? One of the things that I've really felt with the Rangers this season is they're very fancy passing, very fancy puck work. They've gotten a lot better from last year when they would just shoot the puck around like 100 times and no one would take a shot. Now that Panarin has kind of dialed that back, I think they're a little bit better, but they seem much more of a strategic team than a physical team. Yeah. I wish we were seeing more physicality from some of the players. I mean, Trouba's been okay, but the rest of the defensemen, I just haven't seen a lot of that get in your face and check the puck, take it away. And that's what Montreal was doing really well. It's what Carolina was doing well. So when you're saying these teams have really strong defense, it's that they're not letting the Rangers play the little Rangers.
Oh yeah, they can't. I mean, we're marked. I mean, anytime you got an upper team, then there's so much that they want to stop you on.
Yeah, but it's almost like the teams that are willing to play the Rangers game, the Rangers dominate time after time because they have so much skill. There's so much skill between Panarin and Trocheck. That line combination is so great because they have so much chemistry, and they have the way that Kreider can time a flick of the wrist to make a goal. That's awesome. Yeah. But when it comes to get in your face and be annoying, I don't really see who on the Rangers is doing that. So I think that's sort of leading to the inconsistencies because it's based on who we're playing. Do you see the same thing?
I don't.
Okay. So that's why we do this podcast. I love it.
I actually don't. I mean, because I'm trying to see it from both sides too. I'm a proponent of, no move, no line, no game, no moment is the same. And so, cause it's a moving target at all times. And so, and I'm seeing that, I'm reading it. And yeah, look, everybody still wants to complain about something, any chance that they get. And and I just my question is, I guess I am seeing it in numbers though. And that's what's interesting, because there is some amount of inconsistency. I just don't know really what it is. Is it that we are winning and losing, and we're not playing the same game as kind of what you're seeing? Why are other people getting better odds, on Bovada than us, or we're seeing people talking about it differently? Because we're at the top. We have the same points as everybody else. We're actually a game behind a couple of these people. So we're not any more inconsistent or consistent than anybody else in the league right now. We're up at the top. So, and that's kind of where I was kind of going with that, because it's, we're only seeing us. Again, this is my New Year's resolutions, to watch more games to kind of see what's going on with other teams. I see the games I've watched Boston, they lose their shit when they start to lose. So they just start having breakdowns. I don't see that. But the other thing too is, And as we were talking about earlier on Saturday, they started panning the bench again, and I haven't seen this in a long time, but we look like war victims again. I'm like, Panarin's got the fat lip, Mika's got the black eye. We still have a couple people out. Trouba was just pulled out for a big hit.
Hedo's left the country.
Hedo's
not a great sign.
Taco's coming back. He is skating, which is good. And the other thing too is, unfortunately, we're causing a lot of our own injuries. So we're teeing each other up in practice. Miller's hitting Mika with shots, and he won't get out of the way quick.
If you're a regular listener of this podcast, you know that my New Year's resolution was to not talk shit about Miller. However, he somehow managed to take off Goodrow's face. He hit someone else in the face with a stick the other day. I mean, if we're going to talk about inconsistencies, yes, let's not cause our own injuries.
Yeah. So with that, I'm amazed that we are where we're at still, because I'm really not seeing that there's a big injury list, coming out, across the league, and with players out, and we're getting injured one way, shape, or form, but we're right back on the ice and playing. Just not necessarily 100% in all cases, but doing a good job, at it. So and we do have a tendency, and I know that everyone's going to be on them as we start playing some of these lower teams, which I don't think we've had to just yet. We're going to be playing Anaheim Ducks next week. That'll be the third game out of, it'll be the third game, 4 days. It's an earlier game. Last time they played the Ducks, which were in last place, we didn't beat them. So we're going to see how we do. And then, hopefully they do well with the Kings too. Again, we'll talk more about it because Kings are just nasty. The crowd.
Yeah. And the Kings, I think, play that same kind of physical style that the Rangers are not. I think that the Rangers struggle with. Yeah. So it will be interesting, and I will jump on Bovada to check out what the odds are for both of those teams, especially for the Ducks too, because they've had better seasons.
They've got Gudas too, so you're right. Kind of coming over next week into this, into the Southern California and Vegas, because we're all in the same zone for whatever reason. We're going to see more physical games. And so how, I pray every day we don't get any more injuries, so that we can stay on top and watch these numbers, because we are having a couple, it's starting to even out. I mean, the Jets they just flipped up into first place, and as where everyone's focusing on Boston, we're still focusing on Boston. Right now we're dead even in games. So we're in the same, division with them, and it's just going back and forth. Right now we're tied with points. So, and unfortunately, every time we have an opportunity to get a go-ahead win and some points, we don't do it. And that's the more frustrating part for me, is numbers wise is, everyone else just lost. Now's our chance. And then we lose too. So,
I think the Rangers need to stop getting injured and stop having babies, because it's really messing with the season. And speaking of which, we have just found out that Panarin will not be able to attend the All-Star game because his wife is having their second child, and he had a really cute little announcement about that. But with Igor being a new dad and Mika being a new dad, I think that there's also, these guys are also contending with personal stuff going on, and we need them focused. So,
well, they need to stay pretty for their kids.
We don't want start the babies in July. Time is better. Time is better, people.
So here's a question. So that was the first thing when the announcement came out the other day of Igor being selected. Everybody jumped on. Like, it should have been Panarin. Do you think they already knew about Panarin, that he declined it, and they went with Shesterkin? Or my thought was more like, I don't think they have a lot of other good goalies for the East, and so he's still going to be the top guy, the top choice, for the pick.
I don't know. I don't know how that kind of thing generally goes in the back of the locker room. What those kinds of conversations are like.
Yeah, it's not us that picks it, but we do. It is up for vote. Hopefully, people are voting. You get a chance to vote up to 10 times every day for someone other than Panarin. that is the Ranger.
All right. So who's on your list, Christine?
I would like to see Mika. Yeah.
I would like to see him too. I don't know if he's having like the standout year that he needs to in order to get people to vote.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he's the one that's going to do something fun. It's a fun game. So, so is it? How would you vote? Would you vote on like?
I think Trocheck's had such a good. He and Panarin have just been playing so well, and he just seems to have like this timing. I don't know, whatever he's doing is totally working.
So what's the better reward? Going and having to go play and drink and do what kind of games were they playing? What was Igor doing? Something, I don't know, he's doing something dumb with a hockey stick and a surfboard. Whatever games they were playing down there, and he was having fun with him and Panarin. And that was when we learned a real good dress code down there. It was, so what is the better reward? Going down there and partying or having a week off with your family, So I'm like, sometimes I think these guys would rather stay home. They're like, no, you do it. You go. So, like we'll see. I think so. That was announced, and yes, we're, vote. And I know we have a huge fan base, and generally speaking, people like our players. So
I agree. Hey, can you bet on the All-Star game? I'm sure that you can. I'm sure Bovada has a way to bet on the All-Star game, but I don't know if I haven't checked that. And
East versus West. Yeah, I'm sure there's bets. Who's going to score first? That'd be fun.
We talked about this a little last year with the All-Star game. It just that it sort of doesn't have the same kind of meaning that it used to have, and the production value last year was just not great at all. So we are hoping to see something better.
I don't like it. There's a lot of things. You guys can pull us in, and we will consult for you, because there was a lot of no's. Start with never make those jerseys ever again.
Yes.
I didn't like any of them. Don't bring your kids on the ice to play. I mean, there's a lot of things. That's not and more women, and that's going to be happening this year. So we're going to be seeing more of that too, as the PWHL has begun its first week. So definitely want to be diving into that too.
I can't wait to see it, to talk about this and dive in. So, Christine, I know you've been watching. I was able to catch the very first game, the New York game. What are your observations about the PWHL? Do we love it? Are we happy? Tell me everything.
It's been amazing, and my child's watching it. Like if I watch it one game, I have to figure out my TV. I have to spot a brand new TV, and I need to be able to watch more than one game at once now. Now that we have this whole new season of games coming on here. So the PWHL began its inaugural season prompt and bright and early on January 1st at 9 a.m. when Toronto played New York in its very first game. So it's been an amazing week of everything first. So it's been exciting to watch. The first game was amazing. And fun fact from care of my child was that the very first NBA game was actually played in Toronto at that same arena, which is the old Maple Leafs arena.
So cool.
And it's back in the late 40s, I think. And it happened to be the very first game was Toronto versus the New York Knicks. New York won. And so the similar thing occurred. So the very first game was Toronto and New York, and New York won in the shutout. So everything's been a first. There are two rule differences we're seeing, and actually in Toronto they played on a bigger rink, so they are kind of being adopted into certain arenas around the country and around their area. I know that for the New York team, they're going to be playing at UBS Arena for a couple of the games,
and then the rest, I think, in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
That's right. So they're playing on different ice. Hey, they are selling out every single game. So the Minnesota game the other night actually broke records with over 13,000 in attendance. So you're seeing all these kind of, again, it's all first, and just now they have everything's made to get broken. Two major rule changes or differences between the PWHL and the NHL, which, I think there's been favorable comments is one, let's go point system, right? If you win, you get 3 points. If it goes into overtime and you win, you get 2 points. Overtime loss is 1 point. If you lose in a regular game, you get no points. So that's how they're scoring the wins. And we've already had overtime. Yeah, We've already had overtime, shootouts. We've had everything all in this first week of games. And the other thing is they have changed the rule for a penalty where if you happen to score a shorthanded goal while your guy's in the penalty box, you get to set them free. And that has happened. So they call it the jailbreak. So it's a jailbreak. So they've already had that happen.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that rule?
I like it. I think that's something we were talking about either at the beginning of the season or like at the end of the summer with different rules and stuff. I think I like it. I mean, because you have to work extra hard, and I wish we would have that rule now because we're so good at it with Chris Kreider. So,
I'll tell you, at first when I first heard it, I was really against it because I think fundamentally, if you commit an infraction that causes the other team, an issue and problem with scoring, you should have to serve out that time. And there shouldn't be like a little get out of jail free card. However, because of the pace of play and the size of the rink,
yep,
you'd kind of be incentivized to not fight as hard and not shoot the puck as much. You'd probably be more incentivized if you're the team that's shorthanded to just hold the puck as much as possible and not give up possession. So I like it from the perspective of this is going to keep things moving really fast. And it does. It totally works.
Yeah, it's good. And the other thing too, we've noticed, and if you watch that first game, you'll have noticed it too, is, they kind of, there's a good dialogue going on between the players and the coaches and the refs, across the board. So this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure things out this season and learn. And they kind of, I think the refs have kind of pulled back and letting them play. And, they are getting penalties, but they're allowed to be a little bit, have a little bit more contact than they normally would and just play. So you are kind of seeing some missed calls. One of the things we were talking about too is I think the first time that they went into a penalty, it was there was a one-man advantage, and we're like, I don't know if that's right. And then we started seeing announcers kind of say it's a one woman advantage, and then it was person. So even the dialogue is changing and adjusting. And we were kind of talking about that too. And an interesting thing, if people have forgotten, I don't know if they're doing it, but one of the rule changes in the NHL was that a linesman is now supposed to be referred to as a linesperson. So we should be seeing that more of a normal cadence of referral it's a person advantage.
Absolutely. And it came up because when New York was on the power play, it said like one dash man advantage, like literally on the screen, which is so funny because obviously, they're trying really hard to be progressive in so many ways, and they're accomplishing it incredibly well. And the other thing that I also wanted to bring up is how awesome is it that there are fiancés that are on the same line playing for Montreal. Did you know that? I think that is, first of all, it is so cute. Second of all, good for the PWHL for it's cool. It's cool. Like, guess what, NHL? Like, everybody's fine with this. Everybody's fine with it. So I hope that they take a page from what the PWHL is doing and just the pride and just acceptance of living your life.
They were a good outspoken proponent during the summer and the off season too, when Bettman was kind of making some real changes based on some tools in the crowd. So and it's good. They're not afraid to speak their mind. They are letting kind of things going out there. Look, you can watch any game on YouTube. They've put it out there to stream for free. Hey, NHL, we can watch their games. We still can't watch all your games, even though I pay for 2 services. Well, you pay for one of them. So it's like, I'm like, how many do I have to pay for so I can just watch my games? And that right there, that's actually being a discussion too. So, hey, Bovada, let's watch it and see where you're going to kind of pick the PWHL up too and get them into your stats because they're growing really fast. I'm curious to see what kind of odds that these teams would be given. Right now we have a favorite, so I started trying to ask some of our followers, like who do they what team are they liking? So, you know, a lot of, since we have a lot of New York Ranger followers on our page, it was them. But Minnesota right now is on fire, and we already have a favorite. Matthew's already like, my child is already like, I think I want her jersey, is Grace Simwinkle, who did, you know, she already scored the very first PWHL hat trick in their game the other day. So she's really already the top player. She, you know, she's the player of the season so far, and she's the one to watch. Minnesota's the team to beat, it looks like. So let's watch it. Oh, and by the way, we've also had our first postponed game today because they're supposed to play in Boston, and I guess the weather up there is not very good. So people couldn't travel to get to the game there. So they've already postponed that game for today as well. So we're seeing players are coming out in supportive of, you know, and supporting them and being vocal about it. They've got sponsorships for airlines and, you know, an organization. So things are really coming together, and the amount of people, they're talking hundreds of thousands of people are watching them on YouTube now. And, you know, and that's kind of picking up, you know, more interest. So
it's great. And I read today that, you know, for the Canadians, so Tim Hortons has signed on as a sponsor, which for the Canadians is huge.
That's huge. And they have the hottest freaking coffee on the earth. I don't know how people survive. You know, you can die from Tim Hortons coffee.
So good though. The jersey I think that I would want is the New York goalie. I thought she had an amazing debut. It's Corinne Schrader. Not sure how to pronounce it, but she was phenomenal. She did some Jonathan Quick kind of scorpion moves.
I know. Yes, I know. I know. Yeah, he's still giving me a heart attack. I think people on Saturday kind of start feeling what I've known for years, watching him play for the Kings. And so, and they don't always work when he does it, you know? So, yeah, it's like she's been great, but yeah, so they're all playing really well, and yeah, they all came from two teams, you know, and so now they're playing against each other. They're working really well together. I loved all the group photos afterwards, and you know, the kumbaya feeling. They are going to get frustrated. They are going to push around. They are going to protect their goalie, as I've seen. So they're going to do all the things that need to be done and play the game and make it entertaining. And you know, again, every single game has been a sellout. I want to go and see them. I'm trying to think, how am I even going to get a ticket? So, so that'll be next week, is to see, you know, to see if I can get into the East Coast, either Boston or New York, to get in to see not just a Ranger game, but also see either Boston or New York play a game. They have a 72 game season between all of them. And so it'll be quick. It's, you know, but it's going to go well. And they are going to be represented at the All-Star game too. So we'll follow that further as it goes. And as we kind of get into the season, we're so excited to start talking about the PWHL. We are following you guys. Your Instagrams are amazing. They're consistent with each other. They're complimentary of each other. They're really well done. So if you're not following any of these guys, follow them along with us, and keep track of them. We're gonna also definitely, along with my drink pairings and things that we have up there, and commentary in the form of food and dog faces and other things along the way, you know, we are definitely going to be following the PWHL and all, you know, and every time there's this, you know, first, which is just a lot. Every game's got something going. So it's been, that's been great. The attendance, and it just, you know, when they're going to start outselling their arenas, I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like in a few years there'll be the PWHL All-Star game that the NHL will have like a little appearance at.
Yeah. You know, and props to Bill Pito. Like on Saturday, I was watching the game. I'm like, hey, are you going to shout them out on your 150? And he was so quick to respond. And he's like, yes, we're doing it. And he did. Which
is great, because don't forget, they are also on MSG.
They are.
If you have MSG and you're watching the Rangers on MSG, you can also watch the PWHL. You can also do it on YouTube, as Christine mentioned.
And then we're going to follow, and Bovada. We want to see them on your page with odds. I want to see who's going to, you know, like what what kind of odds are, with Minnesota?
Yeah, I hope it's New York though. I think New York's been heavily favorited, but we'll stay on top of that.
I know, it's just so good. So again, their games are, they conflict a little bit with our stuff, but they are. You can watch it on YouTube. If you don't have anything else, it's great. I love sharing the information. I love getting people involved. There's a lot of people that have been chatting with us on Instagram and off the page, just excited to see this as well in the New York area. So in fact, I think one of the kids on the board, in our little chat board, does the ice for the New York games. So so that's good. We're going to work on trying to get some of these fabulous women on our show here and chat with them, so because they're, I think one of them, we were talking earlier, one of them is from Sault Ste. Marie, which is where I spend like the last week in August every year at a with my friends and everything. And one of my girlfriends was one of her teachers. So really small town. And it's just, it's just fabulous. And they're so gracious and grateful. And watching, the crowd has a lot of kids. So I love seeing that. I don't want to be at them because they're germies to me. They're too there's too many of them for my taste right now. But watching all these, and they're having little girl leagues play in intermissions. They're showing those, so it's great to see all the family. The crowd that they show between the plays is amazing. Everyone having a great time and selling out. So we're going to continue to watch that and see it grow, and the commercials that they're coming out with, and making people's dreams come true, and keeping them, look, they're going to say straight out, I'm here. It's my dream come true. I want this dream to come true for these little girls who are playing now and have, future and want to do the same thing. So they have opened the doors wide, and they have been, to the best of my knowledge and from what I see, very well received in the NHL world, from the players in their hometowns and so forth. So I just want to continue to see that grow. So I'm excited for that. 1 week down, and we still got the rest of the season to go. So
absolutely, totally. And yeah, so we have a crazy week in front of us. The Rangers are playing the Canucks, and then I got to be honest, I'm looking at the schedule that they have prior to the Golden Knights game. They're playing the Blues on Thursday, and then weirdly this weekend on Saturday and Sunday there are back-to-back games against the Capitals, one home and one away, both afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern time starts. So that will be very interesting to watch and see how the Rangers do.
That's going to be practice. Kings just lost to the Capitals. So we're going to.
And the Capitals are one of those teams that, I think the Rangers are quite capable of beating, but I think they can get under their skin. So
yeah, but they're not holding up to their level of performance right now too. So that's the thing. We need to keep our odds up on Bovada there and not lose to these kind of teams. So let's
especially when you have Ovechkin who's like 97 years old and still.
I think he not playing. I have to see, and we'll see what's going to happen going forward. So the other big news too is Bedard's out with a broken jaw. Did you see that hit? It didn't look like anything. Not to say it wasn't.
Didn't look that bad, but yeah.
I was kind of reminded me of a young Sidney Crosby. That's what I think of him. I don't have high. He's a good player. He's a young kid. They're not in the top half of anything. And he's out now. So, and then they, not only did that happen, it was a clean hit, but they still went after the guy, and and that was crazy. And
welcome to the NHL.
Yeah, but it's like, and they're talking about it. They were like, oh, they had to do it. I'm like, no, they didn't. People need to learn. There's that revenge type, action, but yeah, it was justified for when Tom Wilson, it got us, and that was justified, and still the greatest revenge play I've ever seen. But nothing like that, And so, like that, I think he's too protected, that this kid. So, and then when we played him the other day, he bowled over, Igor, and then he was like, "What? Like I did what?" Like he just has this dumb look on his face. I don't like him. so
well, he's still he's still a zygote in
But we
NHL
have
terms. So he's had some learning and growing up to do.
I know we have our own kid who just turned 21. So Connor, like, I want him to come up and play more. So that's like, we're going to see him, kind of play a little bit more with we have Pitlick out too. Right. So
yeah. And Othman had his debut.
Oh, Brennan.
Yeah.
We have our own.
They're babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I thought it was 18. He was like 21 now. So they're still babies. When they're younger than my kids, they're still babies.
Yeah.
So so Brennan is still playing. I think people were like, where is he on Saturday? But he came in and played, and he's doing well. I think people are already calling for them to trade Wheeler.
Yeah.
I'm like, leave it alone. So let him have it. It's been fun to see him play. He's getting shots off. And we have him for maybe a couple games or two more. We'll follow it and see. It's game to game.
Yeah,
and we'll see how he does.
Yeah. So with the Rangers starting against the Canucks in just a couple of minutes, we will say thank you so much for joining us today.
Go Rangers.
Go Rangers. Please give us a call or a shout or an Instagram DM if you are going to be in Las Vegas, LA, or Anaheim. We would love to meet up with you. We'd love to see you, and keep checking back on Double Defense for everything New York Rangers and PWHL.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.